Yeah, so why the book?
The book to give my younger self a voice, to give my inner child a process to heal from the things that I went through with all of the scrutiny and pressures on my life growing up as a child star. It was a time for me, a difficult time, and I wanted to bring light to the stories that
Looks like 2026 is really the year the truth starts coming out, because Brandy just got real in her memoir, revealing she was only when she started seeing Wanya Morris, who was much older. She basically says Wanya hasn't been fully honest about what really happened and that she was ultimately taken advantage of.
Stopped it and said that she wasn't that young, because I don't want y'all to think Boys to Men was no.
She said
I was young too.
She said she was 15 and she had to keep it a secret because she was so young.
See, we did the thing. We did the thing when she was like 16, 17, around that time, you know.
You was so you were still a boy too. You
I wasn't old. I wasn't
men
like
yet.
38 years old, nothing like that. I was old enough to. She was old enough to.
That's why I paused and said laughter. She wasn't that young, because I don't want people thinking Boys Eat Men was no. She said she was no. I was young too. She said she was 15 and had to keep it quiet because she was no. Clears throat, see? We did what we did when she was like 16, 17, around there, you know. You were still young too. I wasn't that much older. Not like 38 or anything. She was old enough to get it. Now Wanya Morris really saying Brandy was old enough at 16 while people laughed it off. But wait, wasn't it actually her mom who introduced Brandy to Wanya in the first place and kind of passed her along? Because if you remember, Wanya himself claimed that Sonya Norwood approved their relationship. So who are we really holding accountable here? Now that Brandy is opening up more, several voices, including Wendy Williams, are saying her mother shouldn't get a pass either, because Music Sonya is allegedly a major part of what Brandy experienced. Here's the thing. At first, both Brandy and Wanya denied anything happened before she turned 18. But in her memoir, Brandy makes it clear that wasn't true. She writes that their connection goes back to the 90s when she was just 16 and he was already in his early 20s. Reportedly, he started calling her often, checking in, stepping into a mentor type role, offering advice, and becoming someone she relied on. After Brandy opened for the group on tour, she says they got even closer and formed a relationship she now calls inappropriate. In her words, it feels like he used my admiration, turned my friendship into dependence, and my respect into desire. I got swept into something I couldn't control. I was in too deep. Sneaking around with Wanya and lying to her parents became the norm. Music, they already weren't okay with her dating, so telling them about him wasn't even on the table. But it wasn't just about upsetting her parents. Both of them knew that if the relationship went public, it could spark a scandal and possibly ruin everything they had built. So they created a narrative, pretending they were waiting until she turned 18 before anything romantic happened. Brandy goes even further in the book, explaining how Wanya constantly brought up her age whenever they were together, showing he knew exactly what was going on. At the time, she didn't fully understand why, but looking back, she sees it clearly. She also reveals she lost her virginity to him, even though she originally wanted to wait until marriage. She thought it would bring them closer, but deep down, she knew it wasn't right and felt trapped. She also says Wanya became controlling, overly critical, and repeatedly unfaithful. Imagine dealing with a grown man's cheating at just 16. Anyway, Brandy made it clear the shame stops here. The silence stops here. I wasn't just a young girl with a crush. I wasn't being dramatic or obsessive. Music, he was an adult, and people need to understand that difference. Honestly, I respect her for finally calling it what it was and standing firm. Music, but people are also pointing out that we can't ignore the role her mother played. Like I mentioned earlier, Sonya was the one who introduced Brandy to Wanya and managed her career, and Wanya himself said Sonya reached out because Brandy was a huge fan.
Tell the story. He likes stuff like this, especially when people don't have any idea. Okay. Okay, so check this out. Brandy and I were friends in the beginning. Her mother and reached out to me, as well as my manager reached out to Brandy, because Brandy was a big fan of mine. And I was like, wow, that's amazing, because this young lady was pretty cool. Now, I was young at the time. I wasn't 30 nothing, you know what I mean?
And he said he thought that was incredible. According to Wanya, Brandy became like his protege after they met, and he even introduced her to major industry names. Since they spent so much time together, they grew extremely close. Then he claimed their relationship only became intimate once Brandy was older and that her mom fully supported it.
Brandy and I were really, really close. Once she turned of age, we had been hanging around each other so much. We've been hanging around each other so much that there became to be some sort of connection, an intimate connection. We actually fell in love.
But honestly, most people didn't buy that. Even back then, many believed the relationship started much earlier when Brandy was still very young. And as if that wasn't enough, Wanya also had an affair with Adina Howard while still involved with Brandy, and then watched as Adina's career took a hit afterward. Messy. Even now, with Brandy saying her mom didn't know, a lot of people still believe Sonya was aware. Some are even saying if Wanya is being held accountable, then her mother should be too. Let's not forget, Brandy also dated Robert Smith. They quickly married, and in 2002, while she was still young, they announced they were music expecting a child. But in a 2004 interview, Robert revealed they were never legally married. He said the idea came from Brandy's mom to protect her image, because at the end of the day, it was all about appearances. People are now saying Sonya should also answer for other things Brandy went through, possibly tied to being in such a toxic situation at a young age. For example, music Brandy struggled with a serious eating disorder for years, and many have long believed her mom pushed her to meet unrealistic Hollywood standards. She actually opened up about it on Vahon's Behind the Music in 2012, saying, "I wanted to be extremely thin. That became my focus. So I stopped taking care of myself, barely eating, using diet pills, and doing everything unhealthy you can think of. People don't realize that fame and money don't equal happiness. I had everything, but I was one of the unhappiest teenagers alive." She even admitted her weight dropped from 125 pounds to 105, music, and she would constantly check the scale every few minutes just to make sure she wasn't gaining anything. At one point, she told Oprah that people praised her for being thin, which made her feel good outwardly, but inside, she was really struggling. And it didn't stop there. In 1999, Brandy was hospitalized after her mother found her weak and dehydrated from not eating properly. While her mom may not have directly told her to starve, many believe the pressure to be perfect pushed her there. There are also claims that Sonya influenced many of Brandy's industry conflicts by putting it in her head that she was better than others. For example, Sonya reportedly didn't like Countess Vaughn. Even though Brandy initially got along with her, she was convinced Countess was trying to outshine her. And that's when things got messy. Reports say tensions got so bad that Brandy eventually pushed for Countess to be removed from the show. However, music since Kim was a fan favorite, producers created a spin-off centered around her. And according to sources, Brandy's camp wasn't happy when the Parkers started out performing Moesha, which only added more fuel to the fire. Then there's the long-running tension between Brandy and Monica, which even made headlines after a physical altercation during VMA rehearsals in 1998. At the time, rumors claimed Brandy gave Monica a black eye, though both sides denied it. But years later, during a 2012 radio interview, they basically confirmed something did happen.
Brandy are here.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
Monica
yes.
and Brandy.
The adult version.
Oh, the grown-up version.
You know what I'm saying? We couldn't come in here in 98 and do this, so it's good that we can do it now.
Oh, no. Y'all was probably killing each other back then. I remember.
And then she would have blamed everything on me. Oh, I hate. She would have been like, she attacked me. That's how she does me.
Let's keep it 100. She probably did, right? It was probably her.
I've said I'm sorry. No.
From what people were saying, that rivalry was also influenced by Sonya, who allegedly made Brandy believe she was above Monica. There was even quiet tension with Aaliyah that many didn't know about. Apparently, it started over image differences. Aaliyah had a more mature vibe, while Brandy maintained a clean image. Brandy reportedly made comments about Aaliyah being too grown, saying her own mother would never allow that kind of image. And according to people who were around them back then, Brandy would criticize Aaliyah and Monica for dating older men, calling them too mature for their age. Ironically, she was dealing with Wanya at the same time. As for why Sonya may have allowed it, some believe it came down to money. Since Brandy was financially supporting her, she didn't want to risk losing that. And this is where things get even more layered. Back in her radio days, Wendy Williams was known for understanding exactly how the industry worked, but some believe she stayed quiet about Brandy's situation because Sonya was too powerful and intimidating to challenge. Music, if that's true, it suggests Wendy wasn't unaware, she just knew the risk. And let's be real, this is exactly the kind of story Wendy would have gone all in on. Even without her show, she still has opinions. She's always shown love to Brandy and even had her on multiple times, while also calling out her fake marriage back in the day. Now, rumors are that Wendy also believes Sonya should be held accountable, especially since she allegedly pushed Brandy into certain situations and, according to Wanya, approved that relationship. And now, some feel like the narrative is starting to shift. But what do you think? Should Sonya share the blame too? Let me know down in the comments.